and he's been training us and teaching us a lot on this whole how to maneuver through our careers successfully. And the book we have been drawing our lessons or our sessions from is this one. I hope you can see this book, How to Prosper in Employment. I believe some of you already have your personal copies for this, and I'm sure you've been learning a lot. We also would like to hear your feedback. We'd like to get your feedback. What has the experience been so far? If you've bought the book, what more are you learning or have you learned from the book? Please do let us know. And as you do that, please, you can share your feedback in the chat so that we can give Allan the opportunity to take up the session. So Allan Bukusi, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Isabella. And welcome everybody who's here. And I'm seeing there are people online as well. So Karibu Sana, that's a Kenyan for welcoming you to the session. We've already had 2 sessions so far, and this is the 3rd one. The last one will be next week. And I've been really excited just giving this message to you as people who are keen to make use of your jobs, to make use of your income in such a way. So today's topic is purely money. Purely money. We're just going to talk about money. Now, why am I interested in talking about money? Because every employee you ask, every single employee, they will tell you that they're working because they want to earn money. But then we have to ask the second important question. So what do you do with the money? That becomes very interesting. Some give it away, some don't have it anymore, some are in debt, and it's a reality. It's a reality. So I want to give us some skills and tips that we can take away, and I'll mention some books we need to read. These are need to read books so that you can develop yourself in managing money that comes from your employment. Okay, let me start this session by asking those who are here to type into the chat and answer this question. Why is it important to create wealth? Okay, that's the first question. Why is it important to create wealth? Let me see what comes in the chat. Let me see. Just type in your line, your word, and why is Allan Bukusi always talking about wealth? What is your opinion of why it's important? Financial freedom. All right, financial freedom. I see that. It's important if you want to have financial freedom. So yes, when you hear the word wealth, what else do you think? Okay, I'm waiting for your messages. It's a command from God. Wow, okay, that's really nice, because that means all of us should be creating wealth. To transition from working for money to money working for you. Oh, right, that's Robert. Thank you. Thank you, Anne and Robert, for your responses. Wealth is generational, makes community better. Wow. Now, Jacob, you've gone ahead of me. You're reading my lesson. That's very good. That means you've been reading something here. I like that. Wealth is generational, makes better community. Okay. For use during retirement and when you cannot work anymore. It's hard to believe that there'll be a time when you can't work. But yes, it's one of those things you want to keep in mind. Okay. All right. Now, here's the other myth that I find is in existence. Is money and wealth evil? Is it evil? Is it from the devil? Is it evil? Is it wicked? Let me hear your responses. Is money and wealth evil? Is money and wealth wicked? Let me hear some of your thoughts. Okay. Is money and wealth or wealth wicked? Money and wealth is very good. Like that. And it has many R's on it, right? It's very good, all right? Well, money answers a lot of problems, right? No, God has silver and gold. God says silver and gold is his. So God is rich, right? Okay, so If it's on God's side, then that's probably good. Lavender says it's actually a blessing. Now, let me ask you, Lavender, because you've said it's actually a blessing, and this is for all of us to reflect. Lavender, you don't have to answer. If it's a blessing, what do we do with this blessing that we get? Now, that's a very powerful statement. You've said it's a blessing. So what do we do with the blessing? Okay. Right. Let me start there, and you can keep your questions coming in and as we go along. I want to quote Donald Trump. I'm sure you remember Donald Trump, the previous billionaire president of America. He's reported to have said that, you know what, there are two ways to become a billionaire. You can start with $1 billion from your father and waste it away until you become a poor millionaire. And two is to start from zero and work your way up to become a millionaire. Okay, so there are two ways. Now that's funny. It sounds funny, right? He says there are two ways to become a millionaire. Either your father gives you $1 million or $1 billion, and you whittle it down, waste it, and then you become a millionaire, and people think you're a millionaire, but you haven't worked for it, you wasted the money. And then the other way is to start from zero and work your way up to making a wise investment and becoming a millionaire. All right. Anne says it can be evil if one becomes greedy. So the money itself is not evil, but if you become greedy, you have an issue. All right. Now, in Africa, if I'm referring to Donald Trump's statement there, what he means is that you can take all the wealth that is from your parents and all the wealth that they leave you and invest it in your education and sell it all and become a poor employee. Imagine that, right? This is not Donald Trump. This is Africa. Your parents have invested in your education. They've left you a house and a car. They've left you, and you don't know how to manage this property, so you waste it. And there you go. You become poor. And I agree with, I think it was Robert, if I can see it in the chat, or if it was Robert, one person who said it's generational. It's a generational thing. It takes time. Okay. So, and there's enough cases in courts that in Kenya and other places of the world where families are fighting over inheritance and properties and clues to wealth and so on. My dad left me this and so on. But I keep wondering, now, you guys, do you know how to use this money in the first place? You've been given $1 billion shillings. You've been given money by God. You've been given resources by God. And now you actually waste them. Okay, so in the scriptures, there's a story of the prodigal son, and that story says, give me my wealth now. I want to go and use it. And instead of creating more wealth for the next generation, he goes and wastes it, right? So how are we doing this? How are we using the money that we get? I'm saying that the money and the resources that you have, Anne has says, one of the people on the chat has said that it comes from God. It's the resources, they're all his. So how do you use that resource? Now, there are 6 things that I think we need to take away from this lesson from Donald Trump and the interpretation in Africa. How do we use money? The first thing is creating wealth is a skill, okay? It's a skill. You have to learn how to create wealth. You have to learn how to use money. And if you don't learn how to use money, the money cannot work for you. So that's a big one. The second thing we learned from this little discussion from Trump, if you like, is that wealth is an opportunity. Wealth is an opportunity that can be wasted. In other words, your ability to create wealth can be wasted. The opportunity can be given to you and you lose it. You give it away. And it doesn't pay you. Now, that's what I mean. When you go into employment and you're given a salary, you're given wealth, you're given money. How come by the end of next month, you are broke? You know, give me a comparison between what the scriptures call the prodigal son and yourself. You probably thought, that fellow was, he was a bad guy. How about you? How come at the end of the month, it's all gone, right? The path to wealth is marked by hard work. Now, that's what Trump is talking about here. He's reminding us that we have to work hard in order to create wealth. Now, that's important because many people these days want to get easy money. And I'm saying that that money which you have worked for 30 days, it's right now, it's the 2nd of the month, and the town is full because everybody has removed their cars and put it on the road because they have a few shillings in the pocket. Okay. You've worked hard for 30 days. You've put in that energy. Now you've been given money, and now you go and dish it out. And within 6 or 7 days, it's all gone. All right. So how, by working hard, does that prepare you now to be careful with the money that you get? Now, this is one of the things that people who are not in employment, or the young people when they're growing up, they just look, go to the ATM, get the money, and then we'll use it. How are you aware of how much energy it takes to create that wealth? And that's something we need to look into as we go into employment and as we get the money that we earn. Now, there are things that you need to learn about employment in terms of shrewd investments. There's places where you can place your money and it bears fruit, and there are places where you can place your money and it goes wasted. For example, if you drink a soda, that soda will take you, you'll be satisfied for about an hour, but I can assure you by evening you'll be thirsty again. So that's a quote short-term satisfaction. But if you take that money for the soda and save it, and it probably earns an interest over maybe a year or so, you might be able to buy something like a book, right? Or you can spend the 500 shillings on nyama choma, which is a delicacy in the Kenyan market, or you can take that 500 shillings and buy a book that will increase your knowledge. So using your money, being shrewd in how you use your money, is also a major way to ensure that you create and you use your money wisely. The 6th thing that we took away from there is the fact that wealth is generational. Now, I think that's very, very important to remember. Wealth is generational. Those who actually invest, you'll find that you'll be investing for a lifetime, and your parents have developed a wealth in different places. They have a piece of land, they have a farm, and they started from nothing. Okay. Now, it's the responsibility of the next generation to actually participate in the process, learn how to create wealth, and keep that wealth in the family. Okay. So that's a very important beginning when you're thinking about money. So what have we learned if you're in employment? I think the first thing we can take away from there is that money is earned. Money is earned. Money is earned, meaning you work for it. The scriptures say that in all wealth, there is profit. In all toil, there is profit. Every time you work, there is some profit in it. You need to find out, what is this profit that I can take away from? Okay, so look for a way to identify, this is the money that I have, and there is profit in it. How do I extract that wealth? If you have not worked, you cannot expect to be paid. So be diligent with your work so that you can appreciate your reward by appreciating what you get, whether it's 10 shillings, whether it's 20 shillings, whether it's 1,000 shillings. For the work you do, you get into a mindset to start using that money wisely. Now, money itself is a means of exchange. I'm getting into my subject here. Money itself is a means of exchange. And there are many things you can do. $10, $1,000. You can buy a shirt, you can buy a car. When you can't buy a car with $1,000, but you can buy a cupboard, you can buy a chair, you can invest it, you can save it. So money is a means of exchange. What you want, you give people the money and they give it to you. Now that should tell you something about money. Money can be used to acquire the substance that creates wealth for you. Okay? So if you give the money away, you will be giving away opportunities to create substance for yourself. So you need to find out, do I need a shirt? Okay. If I need the shirt, I can spend some money and that shirt will last me 2 years. Do I need a car, or do I need to look just good because everybody else has a car? Cars are not bad things, and they need to, they give you the convenience and they are able to be efficient in making you get your work done, there is no problem with that. But you've got to ask yourself, what am I exchanging my money for? If you are exchanging your money for ice cream, then it's gone. Now, I'll tell you something about money. Once you've used it, it's gone. You know, you can't say, okay, I've eaten the ice cream, please give me the money back so that I want to use it on something else. That's gone. All right, I'm talking money. Treat your salary as capital. Treat your money as capital. I've already said on this program before that you are an entrepreneur. You're working in an enterprise. That enterprise creates a profit. The profit for you as an employee is a salary. It's a return. And that money now becomes your capital for your personal development, for you to buy a piece of land, for you to buy a house, for you to buy the materials you need to give yourself an education. Okay? So as you earn the money, consider it as capital. Now, if you mention the word capital to a businessman, he's automatically going to tell you, don't touch my capital. Why? Because he knows the money he uses is what turns the business around, is what keeps the business going. And so he will say, that is capital, don't touch. Here is money, I'll give you 5 shillings, 10 shillings, but this is my capital. This, I must buy stock. I must buy materials that will enable my business to move forward. Okay? Now, the money you earn is supposed to fund your personal development in terms of asset acquisition, And these include investments in new skills, purchase of shares in cooperatives, land or properties, okay? I'll tell you a story of a gentleman. On my first job, I think I was earning something like 2,000 shillings, 2,300 shillings. That was many years ago. So you are probably wondering, okay, don't worry. It was fairly competitive, but at least I had bus fare to go to work and back for a month. And I was earning about 2,000 shillings. So after about 6 months, there was a gentleman there. And he was observing me because I was a young man. I had nothing, I had no obligations. All I had to do was I was living in my parents' house. All I had to do was to have enough bus fare. And every day I would go and eat tea at break time and bread at break time and have a thoroughly good lunch. And then in the evening, I would be, we didn't live too far, but I'd take the bus. And he observed me for a while. And he told me, young man, he came to the office with some forms and he said, I want you to fill these forms. So I looked at him and says, I thought, who do you think you are? And he insisted. He said, fill these forms. And I looked at the forms and the forms were cooperative forms. So I said, I'm not interested in the cooperative. He said, no, you're not getting my point. Young man, fill this form. So, of course, I wanted to get him off my back. So I filled the form, cooperative form, deductions of 400 shillings. I was earning 2,000. It was like 40 shillings or something, deductions every month. And I left that, and so they would deduct it from my salary. I left that place after about 2 years. And believe you me, the only money I left that company with was my shares in the cooperative. That was the only money I had. Okay? He had helped me to turn my money into capital. Now, I wish I could have thanked him. I would have said, so what? Please, why didn't you make me save more? I would have been in a better position. And the cooperative, of course, in the cooperative, if you save more money in the cooperative, it's your cooperative, it's your money, and you can take loans 3 or 4 times the amount. But I didn't have that wisdom. And that man had that wisdom. Now, many times you're getting money, but instead of putting it in places where it's multipliable, you're consuming it. Things like rent, petrol, fuel, cars, high heels, clothes, they have a value for a short term, but you can't take your clothes to the bank to get a loan, a cash on a loan. Okay, now, here's another thing I want you to avoid with money. Avoid the debt trap. Avoid the debt trap. Now, let me explain the debt trap, because I hear a lot of people saying, I used to earn 10,000 shillings, I'm broke. I earned 20,000 shillings, I'm broke. I even earned 200,000 shillings a month, I'm still broke. What happened? Now, you have been caught up in what I call the debt trap. So let's work through this debt trap very carefully. What many employees don't know is that every employee funds their own employment. You fund your own employment. And you might think, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Now, let me explain. On the first day you report to work, you are not paid. At the end of the month, you are paid your first salary. Now, who funded that first month? Who funded it? It was funded by your money you borrowed, your parents, you had some money somewhere. So you funded the work that you did for the first month. Now, if you get that right, which means that you used or borrowed the money to work. Now, let's give it a figure. Say you borrowed 10,000 shillings and you knew that your salary was going to be 30,000 shillings. So you borrowed 10,000 shillings for your transport, food and rent, and get you to work and back. So at the end of the month, you're paid 30,000. That means your net income is not 30,000, but 30,000 less 10,000. So you take home 20,000. Now, if you think about what I was saying earlier, the 10,000 is your capital. So you need to keep that money aside to use next month. Okay? So you've already used it. Now, if you've already used it, if you spend all your money, if you spend all your salary, if you spend the entire 30,000, do you know you have a 10,000 shilling debt? And you will have to borrow another 10,000 to get you through the next month. Now, I want you to think about that, okay? Now, if you continue completing all your money and finishing all your money on expenses because you are earning 30,000 shillings every month, your debt is actually increasing by 10,000 every month. That's assuming you don't move out and you are using the same expenses. But that's a theory, because in real life, your expenses go up on a monthly basis or on a periodic basis as you get into more complex engagements, okay? So your debt burden or your debt trap remains with you from your first month, okay? So if you don't understand the aspect of capital, your salary is part of your capital, you will be continuously eating through your capital every month. Now, talk to, if it doesn't come out very clear to you, I urge you to go and speak to any shopkeeper or a businessman and just ask him, what is capital and how is it used? A very powerful concept, because I, as an employee, am paid all this money, but it never lasts. And he will explain to you exactly what I'm telling you. There is money that you have to reimburse your business to be able to stay in business. You have to have your transport, your lunch, your rent, and that money has to be there. The only money you can take out of the business is the excess on top of your capital. And even that needs a very clear budget. Okay, great. Now, there are only 4 things you can do with money. People like to see big cash, a lot of cash, right? So you just want to have cash, get your salary, and you have cash on your, just to see it. It feels good to cash your income. So you go to the ATM and pull out cash and walk around with cash. I mean, it's your right. Yep, you've earned the money. That's one thing you can do with it. Just have cash in the pocket. The second thing you can do with your income or your money is you can consume it. And probably I'm saying this very carefully because we live in a consumer society. If you watch YouTube, or you're watching television, or you're watching some TikTok or something, you will find adverts coming up saying, oh, buy this new computer, get this new, come for a holiday here, buy these new glasses. Now, those attractions make you consume your money because you pay out. Now, many times, those in our consumer society, we consume things we don't need because we haven't planned. So now that's where I'm going to with this. When you are getting money, please have a plan. And let me say it at this point. A budget should be made before you get the money, not when you get the money. Then you start walking around with lists like, okay, I need to pay so-and-so, I need to pay Jane, I need to pay John, and so on. No. That's not when you create a plan for your money, okay? So the first thing you can do, you can cash it, put the cash in your pocket. Second thing, you can consume it. And that's what most of us do, food, rent, clothing, consumption. Or you can collect it. Now, collect it means saving it. And you can put a savings account and you can have that money chopped off and it goes to your savings account. And the third one is you can create capital from it. And you can buy shares, you can get in the cooperative. If you're a young person, anything between 20 and 30, I urge you, if you want to save up the capital that you'll be able to access later on when your needs have increased, join the cooperative. And I'm not marketing cooperative societies here, but I think it's important because then you will be able to see how money can multiply. That salary which you keep giving on a monthly basis, the contribution which you make on a monthly basis accumulates with time, and you are able now to get substantive cash to be able to buy a property or an item that invest in your education and pay for it. Now, a lot of people don't think that education is an investment, but think about it. If you invest in your education, you are probably better positioned to get a higher paying job, which means you earn more capital for yourself. All right. So those are the 4 things you can do with your cash. The 5th one is to get into debt. In other words, you give away your money. And I don't encourage that. So I've already asked you to avoid the debt trap. All right. Now, if you get the money, let's talk about the budget and see how to construct that budget. And I think I flashed the slide last week about the budget, and I'm going to repeat it again today and take a little bit of time to start talking about the budget. The budget is not all the money you spend. Sometimes we talk about a budget, and when I talk about the money, you give me an expense list. Now, an expense list is not a budget. A budget must include your development plans. It must include how much you're going to pay for your rent. It must include how much you're going to give away, and it's going to be budgeted so that a budget actually shows me your financial plan. All right. Now, there's an operational budget and there is a wealth creating budget. All right. Now, a wealth creating budget can actually take a whole day's workshop to be able to go through. But basically, a wealth creating budget must have these 2 elements. It has to have savings and it has to have an investment. In other words, those allocations must appear on your budget line. And every paycheck and with every piece of income, you develop that capacity to be able to have savings and investments on your budget. So that if you're earning 30,000 shillings, you have 10,000 shillings in operational budget, and the other 20,000 should be broken down into savings, investments, education, and personal development projects that will move you forward, okay? That will create wealth for you. So your budget must reflect your short-term and your long-term goals. In other words, your monthly budget should reflect savings and mortgage payments and payments that will create wealth for you over the long term. Okay, so I'm going to show you the difference between the operational budget and a wealth creating budget. Right. So let me see if I can share that, and then I will open the session up for questions. Isabella, my host, let me check. I think I am.
Yes, you are. You are. You can share.
Okay, let me share. Share screen. Okay, so if you look at what I'm calling an operational budget has food, it has transport, and it has rent, and most people like to add entertainment. Now, that is a recurrent expenditure. But if you're going to have a wealth creating budget, then it will take all of these operations plus savings, plus investments, plus personal development plans. This is what I'm talking about in terms of education and training. We're living in a world that's changing very fast. You've got to teach yourself Excel. You've got to teach yourself computing. You've got to teach yourself how to create a website if you're going to advance in your career. You've got to teach yourself a bit of accounting. You've got to learn a lot of these things, okay? So we've got to find a way in which you are able to invest so that it has your operational budget, but it also has your personal development. Now, let me talk about projects, because I think this was the biggest thing that will shift your thinking from operations to projects. Operational budgets, before I go to the projects, operational budgets will have like a 25% goes to food, 25% goes to transport, 25% goes to rent, and 25% goes to entertainment. After all, why am I working? I have to enjoy myself. So you put in the entertainment. But if you are going to create wealth, I dare you to create a project. Create a 5-year project to build a piece of, buy a piece of land. Create a 5-year project to get maybe some course or master's degree or your PhD or your bachelor's or some program that will enhance your skills, okay? Now, once you have that project to go and get your MBA, for example, you'll go and find out how much it costs from the university and say it costs 200,000. Now, if it's going to cost you 200,000, it's going to take 2 years. That means you're going to have a project of either savings or putting aside 100,000 shillings every year. Now, if you make it a project to put aside 10,000 shillings a month, all right, so you look for the funds for the income and you bring it to your project and you put that money there, it will begin to create wealth for you in the long term. If you're going to, you have a plan to buy a piece of land, and that piece of land is in a development area where you will eventually buy a house, but you don't want to build the house now, you just have enough money to buy a piece of land. Okay, so you don't have the money to buy a piece of land. Now, how do you buy the piece of land? You know, a wealth creating mindset. Okay, let me join the cooperative where I can save money and probably get a loan that will multiply and then buy the land and pay it off gradually. But you see, this is a specific mindset if you have a project. Now, if I don't see your project on your budget, then I know you're not moving. And I want you to be able to do that every single month, or with every single income, create a project which you will work on for the next 2 years. I've just been in Mombasa in a workshop where we're training university students. They're actually working, or employees, to be able to create projects that will advance their careers. And so you've got to save for the research project, which you've got to put in place. You've got to put in mind that you're going to have to spend money to be able to access that research material, to buy the books and so on. So if you wait for all the money at once, it won't come. Make it a project. And a project means that you break it down into the first phase, second phase, third phase, and you use your income to fund your personal development. I hope it's beginning to make sense why I keep saying your income should fund your wealth creation. Your income should fund your personal development. Your income should fund your projects. Your income should fund your operations. Your income should fund your savings. Okay? Now, you see the people who can do this with discipline. And I give an example sometimes of village teachers, teachers in the village. They earn very little money, but they use that money in such a constructive way that they build wealth for themselves over time. Okay. All right. So here are the books I want you to be able to read. If you've heard of a book, The Way to Wealth, it was actually written in the 1700s. It's a really very small, these are all very small books, by the way. And as you read these small books, they give you the wisdom to be able to attend to address your monetary needs. The second is The Richest Man in Babylon. It's also a small book like How to Prosper, if you get hold of that in the bookshop. And this is an investment I would like you to make. And then there's a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know many of you have heard about it, but perhaps you never got yourself a copy. Get yourself a copy. And some of these things are available online. Take some time to invest on how to use your money. You know, creating wealth is not the money. It's the philosophy behind the money. That's why these books are important. It's not the money itself. It's the philosophy with which you use the money that helps you create wealth. Okay, so let me stop there and turn to the chat and now ask for some questions or some reflections, some thoughts. Isabella, you might be able to ask some questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Allan, for that. I'm sure we are all soaking in. Please, it's important that we engage. Any question you have, don't be afraid to ask a question. Allan is very receptive to answering your questions. So you can either unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can put it in the chat. So as you prepare your question, Allan, I have a question.
Yes.
This week, there's a fund that was rolled out. And there's been a lot of buzz around this whole fund from every sector, whether it's from the recipients, whether it's from decision makers, the politicians, the people in the corporate. There's been a lot of buzz about this fund. So just give us a few tips on. I know there's so much we can talk about and discuss about this fund, but from your perspective, how can you advise or how can you help us get a perspective about this fund? Because there are people who say, what are we going to do with this fund? Others, I mean, there's just a lot going on. So just give us perspective on this.
I'll assume you're talking about the Hustler Fund. All right. Okay. Now, there's two aspects to this, and you need to be aware of that. One is the political aspect of it, and so it has being politicized to some degree. Let's just focus on the money, okay?
Yeah.
Just because somebody is giving you or allowing you access to money doesn't mean it's going to make you wealthy. And if you've listened to my discussion, you will now know that, please, before you go to that for that money, you need to have a project. You need to have a plan. You need to have something you are already doing. And I will tell you the people who are going to prosper from that fund. It's not the people who have seen money and went for the money. It will be those who are already doing business, who understand the value of capital and are able to leverage that money in their projects, in their businesses, on the job, in their education, okay? So we need to find a way to say, fine, I have now gotten a little more access to funding for a project. Remember, it's funding for a project. So I would really like to urge that if you want to take that 50,000 shillings or 100,000 shillings, first of all, sit down with financial friends, sit down with one of your colleagues on this chat and ask them, okay, and discuss with them. There's 100,000 shillings available. If I got it, what am I going to do for it? And what am I doing now that I should be able to get the 100,000 shillings? So if you tell me, I have a chicken project, I've been running this chicken project as from part of my income on my job, because I have 2 jobs, or I do this one on the weekend and this is the day. Now, this is some money I can use to inject and buy a few more chickens because Christmas is coming. You know, we're in a business discussion here. We're not in the fact that, hey, I have cash in the pocket. Remember, I said there are 4 things you can do with money. You can cash it, you can consume it, you can turn it into capital, or you can actually save it. Okay. So what the danger of this is that many people are going to take this money and for the first time hold cash. But cash is not going to create the work. You've got to have a philosophy to which you add the cash, and then it works for you. Yeah. Okay. All right. I see Sue here has a question. I'll just pick it up from the chat. Mr. Bukusi, I listened to Rich Dad, Poor Dad author. He states we use debt, good debt, to create wealth. Yes, that's I agree with that part of the statement. There is another debt. Okay, you know, it's good to learn from other people's mistakes. Do you know I took a loan to buy, I took an overdraft to buy a TV. Now, I'm not perfect, right? I took an overdraft to buy a TV. The TV does not generate money. It's for enjoyment. I was shocked at the end of next month that the money, my money had been deducted. I was not able to access my full salary. And I went to the bank. They explained to me, excuse me, you took an overdraft. That means that money wasn't yours. We just chopped it. So there is good debt, and you need to really think about that debt. So I agree with you, Sue. There is good debt. If it is going into a project, if you take the Hustler Fund, 50,000, 100,000, and it is already going into your bicycle business, which is already running, it can move it. If you are going to use it to move from Nairobi to Mombasa because you have got another job there which is higher paying and you need a little bit of money to boost so that you can start up, great. But if it is for buying a TV like Allan Bukusi, my friend, that's not where you use your money. That one you save and get enough money and then buy. But don't take an overdraft to buy a TV. Okay, to create wealth. Can someone accumulate half capital to buy? Can someone accumulate half capital to buy an asset and fund the rest with a loan and be paying for it? I think that's great, because when I'm saying, Sue, what you've said here, and my interpretation is that you have already got a project running, okay? And you have saved some money. So you're not going to pay, let's take, for example, you are buying a house, right? So you have saved enough money to pay the down payment on the house. So when you pay the down payment, you are left with half the payment, which you get a loan for. And since you have already been paying from your salary, you will continue paying. But you will be wise because you will pay the mortgage at a lower rate than somebody who didn't have the 50% down payment. If you had 10% down payment, you'll find that the mortgage will be higher. But if you have sufficient to cover where you can start, your mortgage will be reduced and it becomes manageable. So again, thanks Sue for that observation. You need to be money smart. You need to be money wise, and there are things you need to do for that. Great. I'm looking into the chat. Any more questions? Or if you want to raise your hand, then we can do the same here. There. Anyone else? Money. Just bring your money. Today we're talking just about money. Money questions.
Mtu aweke food yenye anaweza maliza na si kumaliza. Hata auntie, where's auntie? Kwa nini anaweka food hawezi maliza?
I don't know. Esther is on. I'm not sure that question was for us here. Bidali says, yeah. Alex says, I want to appreciate you for giving out good advice pertaining to money. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Jacob is asking, how do you connect money and destiny? I like that. I like that. Now let's put it this way. You're going to a job because you want to get money. But we also said that that job is supposed to be aligned to your career goals, your vision and mission in life. And so the money that is coming in is going to fund that destiny. Okay, let me give you an example. We've been talking about this book, How to Prosper in Employment. I don't know if it comes out right on your side. I never got funding for that book, okay? But for me, I felt that in terms of my destiny, that is a very important book that I needed to print. I'm not a great author. I have a whole story about writing, but I did take time to invest and write this book, print it, take it to the publisher. And for me, when I give out this book, what Jacob is calling destiny, I am so happy. I tell you, in Mombasa, I had the opportunity to give 50 books to people who are going to other countries in Africa. Man, I was the happiest person. People are coming up to me and saying, "But why did you give us free? How much does this book cost?" I said, 500 shillings. How come we were giving complimentary copies? Well, I said, you know what? You have been brought here and you're going to other parts of, you are going to places I will never reach. Please go with this message. Okay. And I think, Jacob, you take your money and put it in your destiny. And man, you get so satisfied. It's like, yeah, well, I could have consumed the ice cream. I could have gone to do other things, but I chose to place my money where I think my destiny lies. Let me help others achieve their utmost in their goals. Even if I can't achieve it myself, I'll put it in that place. So the salary you get, this is why I'm really urging you, please don't just operate an operational budget of food, transport, entertainment, and rent. Let's use Jacob's words. Let's operate a destiny budget. When you are saving for your next course or your degree or your piece of land, or you're saving for the business which you want to start, you have a destiny budget. You will take 20% of that budget and it will be part of your destiny, as in I am saving for the day. You want to go to the UK? No problem. What you need, you even know what it will cost you. Maybe it will cost you 50,000 shillings to go and come back. Okay, so let's put it to your destiny. Take the money from your salary, put it aside for 1 year, and then go to the UK and back. Right? You want to go to Mombasa on a holiday. Let's make it a destiny project. Put it in your budget, remove the entertainment or scale down the entertainment, and make it part of your destiny, and your destiny will be created within the budget. Great. Jacob, I like that. Ms. Rono says, would you kindly give some advice on where to save in a way that will still sort inflation? Okay. I'll answer that in two ways. The inflation is going to be, it's an ongoing thing. It's going to be there. But I want to plead with you, please do not allow inflation to cut you back from savings, because saving is so wise. Okay, there's a story told in the scriptures of the 5 wise and the 5 foolish and maidens, and the 5 wise had put something aside, they had saved, and said, you know what? There is coming a day. The inflation might be high, there may be fuel and so on, but there is coming a day when we are going to need this lamp to be able to go for the ceremony. And the five foolish said, come on, use the, when it reaches time, we'll go to buy the lamps in the shop. Now, at the time the lamps were needed, the shops were closed. But those who had kept the oil in the lamp were able to go in and benefit from it. So I'm saying that saving is much more important than worrying about inflation. True, put your money in a savings account, which will advance and probably keep up with the interest rate in the bank. If you are able to join the cooperative, which will actually give you an opportunity to multiply your money and obtain money which you can put into the various investments and vehicles that will come your way eventually, okay? So think forward, think strategic. And yes, there is inflation. So you've got to have a plan for the money so that you can use it, all right? But I wouldn't want to worry too much about it because it's going to be there. It's going to be there. But you can imagine if there was inflation is there and the person who has saved, they will have some money, and the one who has not saved has no money. Then you get into the issues of no money and having money. Inflation is there. We pray and hope that the government will manage the inflation rate so that at least our money has value. But yes, be wise. Be wise. Don't just leave it in the pocket. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. We're getting to the top of the hour. So Isabella, I think we're probably getting. I'll hand over back to you. Okay. We're not hearing you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Maybe there's a category of people to speak to. They're audible.
Okay, I've lost you again.
Okay. Yes, I'm saying there's a category of people who may be watching us on this. Okay. And now, okay, let me put it in the chat. Let me put it in the chat.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you hear me, Allan?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I was saying there's a category of people who may be watching or listening this evening, and not out of their will, maybe they lost their fortune somewhere else, maybe they were laid off before preparing for their future, and they're heavily in debt, and they sort of don't know where to start. They may be listening to you, they're absorbing what you're saying, they're agreeing, but they have that situation that this is not, I did everything I could possibly do in my employment, or maybe I saved it, but a situation happened and they're now back to square one and they don't know what to do, or maybe they were laid off in this season. How would you address that kind of an individual?
That's excellent. There are things that are beyond your control. And we must acknowledge that, and that's absolutely important. You can have all this discipline you're talking about, and the next day COVID hits and you're sent home, or for some reason the plans you had to pay your mortgage over the next 5 years, and you lose a job. Okay, now this is what I propose, and whenever you find yourself in that situation, I think it would be important to go to your to the people you owe money and tell them, you know what, guys, this has happened. I've been paying you faithfully over this period of time, and now the money that was coming in is not there. I need to start again, and I need to rework. And so I'm not saying it happen all the time, but most of the time people will say, okay, So let's give you some time to reorganize your finances. And if you are paying 10,000 shillings, could you at least make sure you have a payment of 2,000, 3,000 shillings coming in? Okay, so in that way, you get an opportunity to breathe, but you get an opportunity to start again. And you can scale back your debt payment to, or reschedule your debt payment so that you can pay over a longer time. Now, this usually happens if you have had the good sense and the goodwill to be able to keep up your payments whenever you have you're in debt. But if you have not, then you will get into trouble. It's like, hey, you had money and you never paid us. You had. So then now you have to look for a way to restructure your funds. Now, once you're in that situation and you're in debt, then in your operational budget or your strategic budget, you need to include a payment. There's a friend of mine who had a very interesting strategy for paying off what he owed, and also for giving money. And he realized that, you know what, I can't give money to everybody in the village every month, and I can't meet all their needs. So what he decided was that he's going to be giving 5% of his income to the needy, all right? And there are many needs around you in the village and so on. So what he did is that he said, I'll take that 5%, and whoever comes first, I'll give you the money. And when my 5% for this month is done, that is capped, and I'll stop spending. You have to wait for next month or when I get my next income. So he was very careful to manage his giving process. But at the same time, you can also use the same strategy to manage your debt payments. So you have a debt and you work towards completing it. So you owe 20,000 shillings and you say, no, this is 20,000 shillings. I've got to pay it off slowly. Otherwise, but at the same time, I've got to keep my income coming in. So out of 20,000 shillings, I'll pay 1,000 shillings a month. And that's the commitment. Actually, I think a lawyer will give me, bear me out here, but the courts would require, even if you went to court, the court would require is he paying? Are you able to pay something? And that's something, if it doesn't close your house or your shop, you should be able to be allowed to stay with that over time. And so you make that payment until you complete it. So show that you are interested in paying and make that payment. All right. So yes, Isabella, you can start again. And, many rich people will tell you, you know what, I've been broke 2, 3, 4 times, and I've had to start again. And if you're starting out in your career, you can also start again. All right, it will take you a second time. It'll take you some time, but you can do so. Let me answer Naomi here. Life insurance policy is also another gateway to disciplined savings. Excellent. Insurance firms have nice policy structures which allow you to save for education, for health, and for properties and business and retirement and so on. So if you are able to get into a position where you can actually make these monthly payments, and these days the insurance payments will tell you pay for 2 years, they give you a bonus, or you pay for 5 years, or you decide how long that period is going to be before they give you back that money. So that's another way you could begin to accumulate the money you need to create wealth.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Allan. We have also feedback from the YouTube side, also watching from YouTube.
Mm.
We have Charles Irongo saying the session is inspiring. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Kagaba Gaston from Rwanda. He says, I really love your mentorship, especially from the YouTube side.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So as we come, Allan, feedback about the session, it's good for him to know whether he has met your expectations for this session. If you have any final questions you need to ask, we have a few minutes, already past time, we have a few minutes to answer any other pending question. And then if you have feedback concerning the session, please let us know. Any feedback, any question? Was all right. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you for the insights and practical examples. Thank you, Jacqueline. The feedback is important. It helps Allan to know how to prepare for the next, and also give your feedback so that he may know if he has met your expectations.
Okay, just to give a highlight for next week's, the last session there, I'll be talking about a house, a spouse, and a cow, and the value of those in creating wealth. Today, we talked about money. How you use your money is an indicator of creating wealth. And I'll be talking about a house, a spouse, and a cow. So if you want to find out how a house can help you, a spouse can help you, or a cow, tune in next week. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. That's something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to next week to know about a house, a spouse, and a cow. There's feedback from Bidali Alex. He says, is the meeting every day or every Saturday? I feel like I've missed a lot. Bidali, this is our third meeting. We've been having these sessions every Saturday, the last 3 Saturdays. However, they are recorded. So if you go to the Royal Youth Mentorship, you have done so, don't feel left out. Just go back to the YouTube channel and watch the sessions that you have missed. And then next Saturday, we meet here from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Lavender says, an eye-opener indeed. I'm starting afresh. Yes, Lavender, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Benedict Mohani says, any book on management? Allan will be able to answer that. But before he answers, Benedict, do you have a copy of How to Prosper? Because that's where you begin. You know, for you to be able to follow through, you begin with How to Prosper in Employment. So my question is, do you have the book How to Prosper in Employment? Chelotti says, thanks for the mentorship program. You're welcome, Chelotti. Let's apply what you're learning. Naomi, thank you. The session was awesome, clear, and to the point. Thank you much, Sir Allan. Ms. Rono says, it has been so insightful. I feel guilty as charged, especially from how I've been handling finances. But today I've been helped a great deal. Thank you. Ms. Rono, don't feel guilty anymore. You've been helped. And like you said, we have a second chance to start again. Thank you so much for your feedback. Allan, do you have any parting shot as you answer the question on management, or any other question you'd like to answer?
Yeah, Benedict, thanks. I actually have other books I've written, and I do leadership training. So for this session, my focus was really to have us deal with the question of how to prosper in employment, because that was the umbrella topic. So maybe I can. We'll be after the series. We'll have a chat with Isabella and see how well we might be able to help again in some other area. But this has been dedicated to how to prosper, to managing money, to employment, and all the dynamics surrounding that. So allow me to answer it as that for now, knowing that you can always get in contact with me, and I'll be able to direct you to get where we can get these other books. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
All right. So Allan, give us your parting shot, and then we can call it an.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I've really enjoyed this session over the past couple of weeks. I've learned a number of things, And from your feedback, I've been able to structure a program that I hope to be able to launch next year that will be able to continuously help people as well. And the issues, the sticky issues of career, employment, money, and how to create wealth, I think are the central things that we have. And so you've done a great job to be able to tune in, but also take some time to do some reading. I'm a big fan of reading. Oh, okay, yeah, you can see some books over here. I'm a big fan of reading because that there's so much knowledge out there. And if you become a good reader, you will be able to develop yourself very powerfully in life. Okay, thank you very much and have a great evening, people.
Thank you, Allan. Hopkins is asking whether you can have a PowerPoint presentation. Yes, Matthew, Allan will share the PowerPoint presentation with Matthew, and then Matthew will share with you in the group. So I hope you're in the WhatsApp group so that when Matthew shares, you can have access. Okay, all right, Bidali. Anne Migwe, please share the link to the, okay, let me share the link to the YouTube channel for Bidali. As I share the link to the YouTube channel, let's have a volunteer to close with a word of prayer. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We believe, and I know that you've gotten value out of this meeting. The most important thing is to implement what you have learned. We've been given tips, we've been given resources. There are books he has mentioned. Go out of your way, get those books and read, and add value to yourself. So let's have a volunteer to close the meeting with a word of prayer.
Let's pray. Okay, let's pray.
Okay, go ahead.
Our loving, most gracious Father in heaven, we thank you very much, Father, for all the life you've given. Father, thank you very much, Father, who has been able to take us through all this session, Father, and for people to know about how to manage the money, issue of finance, and issues pertaining employment, Father. I pray, Father, make it him long, and also may also add in more years, Father, to live so and able to mentor us who has to see the young people growing up on how to manage finances and issues pertaining employment issues, Father. We thank you, Father. Indeed, finance is not something that just started right now, but it has been there since even the more part of it has been there in the Bible and everywhere managed. But thank you for my Sabbath, really, who has made efforts to write down books and also made efforts also to teach us the different parts of the world in able to access this knowledge. Father, guide him and bless him. All this I pray also for other people who are tuned in and also take this advice. I know, Father, we have messed up with this certain money, but at this time, we do this what that as a teacher. May we take it seriously, begin to do us until the day you come, that we shall be good stewards of the word, Father. We thank you very much. I pray for everyone for prosperity in the life.
Amen. Thank you so much, Bidali. And thank you, Anne, for sharing the link. So Bidali, you can check the YouTube link and follow through with the other sessions. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Matthew, for giving us this platform and for hosting us. We appreciate. All right, people, good evening, and let's continue engaging over the week.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Stella and Allan. Awesome.
Thank you. Awesome.